Year to date, Nvidia stock is down roughly 21%. And unfortunately, from its 52-week high, the stock is down roughly 28%. Now, in today's episode, I actually want to do a very quick and simple 5 reasons why I believe Nvidia is one of the top Mag 7s and why I am very bullish for Nvidia in the long term of things. Obviously, with current macroeconomics, with current volatility in the space, stock prices can go lower, but I just want to share why in the long term, there is the strong possibility of this being much higher. So let's take a closer look. But if you want to learn more about the semiconductor market, make sure to check out my free daily semiconductor newsletter, whatthechip.com.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so this is going to be a very quick video with a lot of infographics and graphs just showcasing how NVIDIA continues to dominate. And the first thing is, while NVIDIA is down year to date and it is down in the past year, NVIDIA has been the best performer out of all Mag 7. I mean, the past 10 years, the stock is up over 19,000%. The only one that comes anywhere, and no one's anywhere close, is Tesla, up 1,600,000%. And we can see the next are in below the 1,000 values. So NVIDIA in the past 10 years, in the past 5 years, as we can see, still outperforms all the players. In the past 3 years, it still outperforms all the players. But we see in the past year right now, maybe it might not be the best performer, but it's definitely not the worst. So overall, I want to say just looking at those 10-year, 5-year, and 3-year returns, we can see NVIDIA has been the best Mag 7 stock to own. And I do believe the trend will continue, maybe not at these types of levels of returns, but I do believe it will be one of the best performers out of the 7. Now, the next thing is this is a company that is growing the fastest and has expected revenue to grow the fastest. Revenue growth estimates for current fiscal year for NVIDIA is about 56%. That is about 12 months from now. The next one that comes in line is Tesla with about 15% year-to-date growth or year fiscal year expectation growth. No one out here is growing at the same types of levels as NVIDIA. And while sure, it's not growing at those triple digits anymore, 56% is definitely not something to laugh about or to kind of this thing, right, to ignore. The other thing, so that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to say is gross profit margins. The big gross margin player here is Meta Platforms. And Meta Platforms is a huge advertising player, right? And that's pretty much where most of their revenue and earnings hit. So it's a very strong digital play. And that one has gross margins of 81%. Now, NVIDIA is second here with about 75% gross profit margins. Obviously, if you have been following NVIDIA, we do know that there is going to be some short-term, is what management is saying, some short-term headwind on these gross profit margins. And we might start to see maybe trailing 12 months gross profit margins get closer to 70%, but things should pick back up. And I do believe we are going to continue to be at these at least 70% gross profit margins, which is higher than Microsoft, much higher than Alphabet and Apple and all these players. So gross profit margins, you would think this is a software-based company and not a hardware company, which is true, right? NVIDIA is no longer just a hardware company. It's a whole ecosystem company, and they are doing really well with gross profit margins. So while they're not number 1 in this list, they are still a very top contender. Now, the other reason is this is a massive free cash flow machine. In trailing 12 months, this is actually number 4 of the Mag 7. Only one that's really destroying it is Apple. Apple is a beast with free cash flow, about 98 billion in trailing 12 months. Alphabet is coming in there number 2 with 72. Microsoft number 3 with 70 billion, and Nvidia there with $60 billion. Now, I am going to make this wild speculation that I believe by the end of the next 12 months and the end of their fiscal year of 2026, NVIDIA is going to be at least the number 2 free cash flow machine in this list. I don't know if they can catch up to Apple just yet. Maybe that could be something in the future, but I do believe by the end of the next 12 months, NVIDIA will be much bigger free cash flow than Microsoft and much bigger free cash flow than Google. Let me know in the comments below if you think I might be getting a little too excited here for NVIDIA's free cash flow. And with that free cash flow, right, it allows the company to invest more in their own AI solutions and to make some great acquisitions, to invest in the software space, to invest in manufacturing capabilities, and kind of have more partnerships with TSMC to be able to pay a lot for their engineering talent and have multiple engineering talents working on innovating their next AI chip. I mean, also, if we look at forward PE ratios, this might not be the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive, right? Tesla's trading at 82. Even Apple, who I believe is not much of a innovator, is trading at 30. We have Microsoft trading at 28. Meta Platforms and Nvidia are trading very similar to each other with a PE ratio close to 24. I mean, the only one that's really, really cheaper than Nvidia, I think Meta Platforms were pretty much flat, would be Alphabet. So NVIDIA is the second cheapest forward PE ratio company in the Max 7. And I believe that this is the one growing at the fastest level, the one with the biggest growth opportunities, the one with the largest lead compared to its competitors. So I would have expected this to be trading at a heavier valuation. Now, when we take a closer look at some other reasons that NVIDIA is probably one of my favorite my number one Max 7 is based on estimates, NVIDIA holds about 92% of the market share when it comes to data center GPU. And when you kind of account some other players, I do believe it's a little bit different. But right now, this is the leader in AI GPU for the data center space. And as long as AI continues to innovate, then NVIDIA will continue to progress as well. And in a recent conference, I don't have it here with me, but I'm going to see if I can pull up a screenshot here. NVIDIA pretty much mentions that the Blackwell architecture is the number one architecture for AI. What they believe is number two is actually their Hopper architecture. And their Hopper architecture is another NVIDIA product as well. So the only real competition for NVIDIA right now is NVIDIA. And with any other Max 7, I'm pretty sure I can list many, many kind of competitions in that space. Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet, right? They all kind of compete in the cloud space. Apple and Meta and Google all kind of compete in the kind of advertisement space. Apple and Google compete in the mobile ecosystem and the app space, but I can't really, and they all have some decent market shares, right? While there might be some leaders, no one has the type of lead that NVIDIA has with its competitors like AMD, like Broadcom or Marvell. And I think that is very, very crucial. And NVIDIA, being the super paranoid company that it is, I believe will continue to have a massive, massive lead. So again, today's episode was really much kind of just simple numbers to understand why NVIDIA is my number one Max 7 at the moment. From things like total returns, from things like amazing free cash flow and great valuations, this is definitely one of my favorite stocks to own.